Okay, very good. Welcome, everybody. It's 6 o'clock. So good evening. Welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting of the Zoning Advisory Commission. It is February 5th, 2025. Call this meeting to order. Travis, will you be taking roll? Okay.
Yep. Christ. Excused. Lorman.
Here.
Mulligan.
Here.
Norton. Excused. Russell.
Here.
Zaccaro.
Here.
Froistad.
Here. All right. Can you confirm we're in compliance with the Iowa Open Meetings Law?
We are.
Okay, great. All right, commissioners, in front of you are our meeting minutes from January the 8th, 2025. I'll hear any modifications or comments or entertain a motion for approval as submitted.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from January 8th, 2025.
Okay, great. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Travis?
Russell.
Aye.
Lorman.
Aye.
Zaccaro.
Aye.
Froistad.
Aye.
Mulligan.
Aye. Okay, those minutes are approved as submitted. So this evening, we have one action item. We have 3 public hearings. I will be recusing myself from the first action item in the first public hearing. Commissioner Russell will be taking those. Before we dive in, can you, Sheena, confirm the next council meeting that these will all be going to?
Yes, so the next council meeting will be, I have to double check, the 17th of February.
Okay. Okay. I will recuse myself and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Matt. The first item on our agenda is a minor subdivision. It's Estates of Dubuque. The procedure we'll follow is the applicant will make a presentation, we'll receive a staff report, we'll discuss it as a commission, and we'll make a motion in a second. Then we'll have further discussion by the commission, and then we'll have a roll call on that item. There's no public input on this part of the meeting. So first of all, is Mike Dalsing or a representative here to make a presentation?
I'm here, but we'd like to have a representative speak for us.
Justin Lau with Beason and Associates. We're their surveying company that the estate's hired to do this subdivision plat. This plat is for 35 lots from 2 lots. Basically, it was a communal lot. I think that's, any questions?
I guess I do have a question. I'm curious about the clubhouse and the parking lot. What happens with those 2 parcels?
Those parcels would stay with the estates. They actually just become on their own lot and be part of the community itself. They're owned by the estates of Dubuque.
Thanks. Any other questions from the commission? All right, next, thank you. Next is a staff report.
Yes, thank you. Sheena Moon, Associate Planner. So as the applicant articulated, and I'm going to pull up some visuals here for the commission. So this property was previously subdivided back in 2023. And as you see in the image here before you, this was the lot configuration that came out of that subdivision. The reason this property was subdivided in this manner is it was set up as a cooperative style of ownership. And so there was not at that time a need or a desire to subdivide individual lots for each of the residential homes. At that time, it was also rezoned, which I will go into as well. But as you see here, lot 1 in green, this property contained, and I'll show an aerial as well, but it contains the clubhouse, the parking lot, and 16 residences. And then lot blue, in blue here, contained 19 residences in that surface parking lot on the south side of Ewing Drive. And then the streets were platted at that point in time as well. And now the applicant is requesting to further subdivide this. They are, as I understand it, seeking to change the type of ownership. And so the residential lots would now be on their own individual lots. And the clubhouse and parking lot would be on separate lots as well. So as you can see here, the streets have remained the same. We have the 3 streets, which again, those are staying as they were previously platted. And then these areas in green show the 35 residential lots. And then in the purple lot here where my cursor is, if you can see that, that is where the clubhouse is currently constructed and it will remain there. Part of this is also the detention basin, which is in this area of the property. And then lot D here shown in blue is where that surface parking lot is located. And I'll show you an aerial image, a more recent aerial image, which indicates that this subdivision is largely developed. There's a footprint for each of the homes. And so as I understand it, there's still completion to be done with some of those structures. But as far as the layout of the subdivision, it is what you're seeing here and before you. Again, and so this applicant is requesting to further subdivide this to allow for these individual residential lots. I want to bring to the commission's attention a letter that we did receive just this evening. There's a copy of it provided to each of you and as well as to the applicant. This is from a legal representative of Conlin Construction who has an interest in the subdivision and may provide comment this evening, but if the commission has not taken a chance to read through that, please do so. And I will also look to Wally Werman, our planning services director, to provide a more detailed legal, feedback with respect to that letter.
I'll just let you guys take some time to read the letter.
Everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yes.
Okay, so as what Sheena's indicated, we received this letter today, late in the afternoon, so it's being provided. It was not included in the packet, but it's for your review. So the question was provided by Mr. Matthew Hectone. He represents Conlin Construction from the Simmons, Perrine, Moyer, and Bergman lawyer firm. So the question got brought up. They're asking if the commission would respectfully request to table the application. They do cite some information that's included in the letter. They do state the state law and the requirements for approval of the plat. This letter really is to inform the commission with regards to the process. So the chapter that they're referring to, Iowa Code Section 35 or 354.11, talks about the subdivision plat process. And everything that's stated in this letter is correct to the standpoint that they need to go through the process. The Zoning Advisory Commission, the City Council, is one signatory on a plat. There are additional signatures that need to be signed by the plat. And prior to filing to the recorder's office, they need to have permissions from all parties that are involved. So this letter really doesn't apply to you guys. This is just informing you and just asking if you have an opportunity to table if you would want to. But really, this has no bearing on the Zoning Advisory Commission or the City Council. This has to do more with the legal matter between the two parties and the timing and whenever the plat gets recorded to the Dubuque Recorder's Office. And the recorder of the plat will be the property owner that would take it to the Recorder's Office. The city does not record these plats. So this letter really doesn't have any bearing on your guys' decision. If you guys have any questions about that at all. Oh, one other thing I just want to inform. We did check with our legal counsel, Krenda Brumwell, and she reaffirmed that interpretation and discussion of the letter. So.
Well, I have a question for either the applicant or the planning department, which is, what is the purpose of this request? Sorry if I missed it, and the timing, the purpose of the timing of it now. I mean, a lot of times things come because there's changing, construction or, changing needs. might have missed something, but I don't understand the purpose of this request.
I think that'd be an opportunity for the applicants to explain the reasoning for the platting of the property to 35 lots.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question real well, but I think what you're looking for is why we're changing. This started out as a 55-plus co-op, and so the land was all developed in one piece, and then we would all share in the ownership of the entire thing, the entirety. Well, since then, of course, there's been a change in the position of the ownership, and the first purchasers of the homes, there's 14 purchasers of homes in there now, and we formed a board, and we're going to change it over to an HOA concept where everyone would own their own home. So there was, from the very beginning, there was 35 homes and a clubhouse, and there still is 35 homes and a clubhouse. The only difference, instead of having one parcel, there's going to be 36 parcels. There's going to be a common area that the HOA will share expenses on, and then there's going to be 35 lots. So each homeowner will have their individual lot instead of contributing as a co-op to the entirety. Does that answer what you're looking for?
Yes.
Mike, could you give your name and address for the record, please?
Mike Dalsing, 3651 Vintage Lane. I'm a homeowner out at the Vintage Estates.
All right, thank you.
It started out as a 55-plus retirement type community, and that's what our intention is, to still keep it that way, but simply to go from a co-op to an HOA.
All right, thank you. Any other questions while he's up? No.
Well, I have another question for the Planning Commission. It sounds like this zoning request will go through now or at some point, and there are other, like, why should we approve it now or later? Like, what, besides this request to just wait and have it come to the committee again?
So I'm not quite sure to understand the question to have it come back to the committee. So when we receive an application for a subdivision plat, we have to process it. There is a process that's labeled in the Zoning Advisory Commission. As what Mr. Dalsing has indicated, there's been a form of ownership change in the property. So when we look at it from a zoning standpoint and the filing the plat in our office, and this actually is coming before you as a minor plat. It's kind of unusual. Normally it would be a major subdivision where you have improvements to the roadways, the water, the sewer, and everything that's associated with it. When this was submitted to our office, that's already done. It's all the water, the sewer's in place, the stormwater controls, the streets are in place, sidewalks are in place. What they're looking at is a different form of ownership. And for the co-op process is individuals that purchased a structure in the property, they became part owner of the whole development as a whole. Due through some processes, that has changed. And so they're requesting, instead of having, for instance, Mr. Dalsing would actually have a right or ownership of all 35 homes as being part of that co-op. What they're requesting now is to subdivide all these lots to put on their own individual lots, and then they will physically own their own lot and their own property. They'll have a homeowner association where they'll be able to pay what assume a homeowner association fees to maintain the private street system, which these streets will remain private, which is what was proposed when it came to us the first time. In addition to helping maintain the clubhouse and the parking lot for that. It also affords them the opportunity to have individual homes sold off to individuals for separate ownership. So from a land use standpoint, nothing's really changing. It's just the form of ownership. And due to the form of ownership, in order to make that happen, they're asking or requesting to have each lot separately subdivided so they can be sold off. And therefore, we have to amend the PUD, create bulk regulations for setbacks, everything's associated with it. So the timing of the matter that's between disputing parties over the development and purchase. That's really not your review at this time. Your review is to look at it from a plating standpoint. We received an application. We proceed with what's allowed by us in our code and our zoning ordinance. So that's the process that we have to go through. And I don't know if I answered your question, Ms. Lowerman, or not, so.
Well, we received public comment that there's an entity that's interested in not moving this forward at this time. What's the argument for needing to, move this forward quickly or now? What's the opposite interest?
So we can't really speak to the opposite interest. That's not our responsibility. We have a process and it's outlined in the code. We received it. We have to proceed through that. There's many times where we may be involved with zoning issues that are under litigation or certain legal matters. We would step in and explain to you when there's a situation that we can't either process or approve or anything. But this time, since we have the plat, they brought it before us to move through the platting process. We make recommendations to city council. So, and also we're in a situation where we don't get in the middle of an argument between certain things, and that's not the role and responsibility of this commission. The role and responsibilities is deal with land use decisions and platting property.
Okay.
So.
I have an unrelated question. I'm curious as to who owns the buildings that aren't complete?
So, Mr. Dawson, you want to explain? You've indicated to us, obviously, you made a purchase, you own your home. There's, I believe you mentioned 14 property owners that will own their individual homes. The remaining 11 homes, how's that work?
Right now, we have formed a legal board that has taken over ownership of the entirety. So the board owns the whole development with, of course, funding through our bank. I mean, and as we sell the property, then of course the bank gets paid off, and we sell the individual homes. But we can't sell the individual homes until we go through this process as well and get them platted out separately, which we've just accomplished, and that's why we're here to. The whole thing really comes down to is a matter of taking the same property, and instead of having one big parcel of land, we're going to have 36. We're going to have 35 homes and the clubhouse and the common area for the holding pond and that sort of thing.
All right, thank you.
Which is all going to be paid for by a monthly fee through our HOA fee.
Well, thanks for that clarification. Mm-hmm. Any other discussion by the commission? I would entertain a motion. Can I make a motion?
Yes, you can make a motion.
I move we recommend approval of the minor subdivision of the Estates of Dubuque. Final plat number 2.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion by the commission? All right, Travis, are you in charge of
I am, yep, thank you.
roll call?
Sure. Zaccaro?
Aye.
Freustad?
Aye.
Lorman?
Aye.
And Russell.
Aye.
Motion approved.
All right, that motion's approved. We'll move on to the public hearings.
So, Vice Chair, so I just want to inform, this will go on to the City Council on the February 17th City Council meeting.
All right, for the public hearings, we have a little different process. The applicant still makes a presentation, but when the presentation is over, if there's public members that would like to comment on the proposal, they get the opportunity to do so in the hearing. Then the applicant would come back for rebuttal if necessary based on the comments from the public. Then we'd receive a staff report, and we'd mention any letters in support or opposition of the application, and we'd discuss it as a commission. And after the applicant's rebuttal, we close the public hearing so there's no more comment from the audience. And then going back, then we discuss it as a commission, make a motion, second, and then end up with another roll call vote, one way or the other. So the first public hearing is to amend the PUD for the same property, the Estates of Dubuque. Mike or Justin, did you have any comments on this?
Do I have to restate?
Yes, restate your name and number. Yeah, sorry, Justin.
Justin Lau with Beasley and Associates. We are the applicant's engineering and surveying company. This is currently zoned a PUD. We are just requesting a rezoning due to change of the bulk registry requirements for how the units were built. I think the majority of them were going to meet. There was some frontage changes for the cul-de-sac lots themselves. Got a little smaller than originally platted. Well, actually, they didn't need to meet the requirements of the zoning at that time because of the lot itself was bigger. So now we're asking that it gets rezoned to a PUD with the new bulk restrictions in there. And then that would make everything conform to what is out there.
Right. Thank you. Any questions right away for Justin? No? All right. Is there anybody from the public who wants to comment one way or the other on this proposed rezoning? You can come to the microphone and state your name and address and ask the question.
Yeah, I'm Mary Ann Groom. I live at 16693 Clay Hill Road. So when we butt right back up against them. And once this is rezoned, which we don't have any problem with the rezoning, who's actually responsible for the catch basins in like all the excess besides the housing?
It sounds like there would be a homeowners association that would be responsible for that.
That would stay with the homeowner association. Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else want to comment one way or the other? All right, we'll close the public hearing and ask for, I guess we don't really need a rebuttal, so we'll go to the staff report.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. Sheena Moon, Associate Planner. As a result of the proposed subdivision and the subdivision plat, we needed to take a look at the existing planned unit development ordinance. And so in doing that, I should step back. So planned unit development ordinances are often utilized to establish specific criteria for certain types of development. So whether it be a higher density or whether it be a specific style of land use and or whether it be for setbacks, PUDs are a great tool through which an applicant or a property owner or developer can establish specific criteria for their property or their development. In this instance, this property is zoned PUD with what we call a PR, planned residential designation. And so again, with this proposed subdivision, we had to take a look at that existing PUD ordinance and evaluate whether or not there were any updates and or changes that were going to need to be required to that ordinance. And so we did determine that as a result of that ordinance, we wanted to update the conceptual plan documents. Every planned unit development has what we call a conceptual plan document that accompanies it. We wanted to update that to make sure we included the draft subdivision to show that. And we also identified that we needed to update the planned unit development to identify and create bulk regulations. Bulk regulations, which I'll show you here, establish criteria such as height, setback, lot area, street frontage for lots, things of that nature. And because they are subdividing those individual homes on separate lots, we had to take a look at that, as well as that clubhouse structure, to make sure that we had that identified in the development requirements within this PUD ordinance. And so I'm going to show you just a chart here. As we mentioned earlier, the subdivision streets, the detention basin, all the utilities have already been constructed for the project. The proposed subdivision plat and the PUD would not affect ownership. It would stay in the HOA's hands per the citizen's question. So just to further confirm that, the city is not assuming any ownership of the detention basin or streets at this point in time. And so with that, so I'm going to show two things. One, the conceptual plan that we're adding to this PUD ordinance is essentially this exhibit here. So it is the final plat exhibit that we just looked at for the previous review. Also included and maintained in there will be the previous conceptual site plan, which again, this is still the same style of format. It is still in substantial conformance with this conceptual plan. So we're maintaining that document in the ordinance as well for future reference. And then if we take a look at the bulk regulations within the ordinance, I'm going to scroll up to my staff report here. Excuse me. So as you can see here, we've gone ahead just to provide you with a comparison between the R1 single family regulations and the proposed development. So the top chart here shows the Estates of Dubuque proposal. So this bulk regulation chart would be included in the ordinance. It would establish the permitted uses as a single family detached dwelling, as well as the clubhouse specifically. That's a unique feature to this subdivision. And so the minimum lot areas for the single family homes in this subdivision would be, I'm so sorry. I want to just articulate one thing here as I'm going through. So staff did update this document and mailed it to the commission earlier today. We did have an error here. We originally identified 50 feet as street frontage, but we recognized that actually a couple of the lots on the cul-de-sac will only have approximately 38 feet of street frontage. So that should be in red as well. There's an updated version that I can pull up. The rest of these numbers are accurate. So 50% of lot coverage, minimum setbacks for the front and the rear, those would be altered from single family. They'd be reduced to 15. Again, this development was consolidated as a dense cooperative style development. So really warranting some different considerations around the bulk regulations. We also proposed to establish the clubhouse as a permitted use and to establish some minimum lot requirements for that structure as well, which you can see here in this chart. Normally, a clubhouse would not necessarily be a permitted use in a traditional R1 district. And so with that, we have received actually, I'll just articulate again. So 35 single family homes, the 3 streets / cul-de-sacs would remain intact as they currently are. The stormwater detention basin would remain. The clubhouse and then the surface parking lot would be what constitutes this proposed as part of this proposed ordinance. So we did receive a number of phone calls from neighboring property owners interested in understanding what exactly this update would require, would entail. And so after explaining to all of the calls, we did not have any formal written response either for or against the project. So we have no specific public input to report specifically for this request today. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
The request is to move from PR to PUD, but you're comparing it to R1. So
Right.
what's the relationship between PR and R1, just to clarify?
Great question. So a PUD, a planned unit development, can have variable or various different designations. It can be PC, planned commercial, PR, planned residential. So currently, this is what we would call a PUD with PR, planned residential designation, and the proposal would be PUD with PR, planned residential. So that designation, PR, is not changing between the existing ordinance and the proposed ordinance. One of the reasons we look at single family development is because they're looking to subdivide here for single family homes on individual lots. And so just as a point of reference, we like to utilize that in this instance. If it were an R4 district or a multifamily project, we would probably look to those districts to provide a comparison for the commission to kind of see a side by side as well.
Wood.
Can I just add something
By all
to
means,
it?
yes.
So when this came to our office, we're like, how can we just rezone it to R1? It would make most sense to rezone it to R1. The reason we have to go to the PUD requirement is because of the clubhouse and the parking lot. And then also we had situations where the setbacks wouldn't meet the required standard in an R1, which is 6-foot side yard, 20-foot front yard, and 20-foot rear. So ideally, the way we were able to approach that would just be look at it as a single-family subdivision, as a planned unit development. So because we have to vary those required setbacks that aren't typical in R1, we had to go to the PUD route. Ideally, it'd be great if it could just be straight R1, but if we did that, we'd have a lot of non-conforming properties. That's not the intention to have before us, so that's the reason why we went to the PUD.
Thanks, Wally.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, let's see if anybody else has any questions. Anybody else have any questions before Carrie makes a motion?
Oh.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve this application to PUD as described.
I'll second.
Thank you. Travis?
Lorman,
Aye.
Zakaro,
Aye.
Froistat,
Aye.
and Russell.
Aye.
That'll go on to February
Yeah.
17th,
Thank you.
City Council, sorry.
Good.
Yeah.
Item 2.
Item 2.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll move on to item number 2 under our public hearing, the traditional rezoning of Harrison Street. Is our applicant here this evening? All right, very good. Wes, if you state your name, address, and what you're after.
Wes Wedower, I'm the applicant. Address 406 Wyatt Drive in Piasta. We're looking to rezone the identified property there from CS to C3. We're looking to put a physical therapy clinic there, and that would need the medical facility designation, so that's under C3.
Great. Thanks, Wes. All right, any questions for Wes? I'm sorry, I should have asked. No, okay, thought it was good. This is a public hearing, so we'll open it up for any public input. Great, seeing none, we'll close it. Our staff report, Travis?
Yeah, thank you. Assistant Planner Travis Schrobelgen, as the applicant stated, he's seeking to rezone the property, subject property from CS to C3. This would constitute an expansion of an existing zone since there's C3 to the south and to the west. It is currently a vacant lot, and therefore it'll have to go through development review team. Current traffic counts are unknown. The last ones were from 1970 on Harrison Street. So the nearby Charter Street had 5,100 in 2021, and a majority of that would obviously go down Harrison Street. But this project itself, or a rezoning at this location, would not substantially alter the traffic flow or traffic pattern. We have not received any public input on that. And traditionally, this has been a heavy industrial zone, and it was this property in particular was rezoned in 1986 from heavy industrial to CS, and that was to get I believe the FedEx, what's in there now. And this was originally slated for an expansion for FedEx, but it's since been sold, or is looking to be sold. So that is all I have, unless you have questions.
Is the FedEx building zone C3 currently?
FedEx is currently CS as well.
And it's a separate.
It is separate.
Separate
It's a
ownership.
separate parcel. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of dog legs around there.
Great. Any other questions for staff? Any conversation amongst the commission? If not, entertain a motion as submitted.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to rezone property from CS Commercial Service and Wholesale to C3 General Commercial Zoning District.
Great. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. Travis, we have a motion and a second to approve as submitted.
Lorman,
Aye.
Russell,
Aye.
Zakaro,
Aye.
Froistat, and Mulligan.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes, and we'll go to council on 217.
Correct.
Thanks, Wes. All right, we'll move on to item number 3 on our public hearing. Cedar Cross Road rezoning by Callahan Construction. Is our applicant here? Great, come on up, state your name, address, and what you're after from the commission.
Hello, my name is Joey Callahan with Callahan Construction, and I'm here for the rezoning of the Cedar Cross Road property to a planned unit development, planned residential designation.
Very good. Can you tell us what you're planning to do?
So the plan is for a 6-building, 180-unit total apartment development, market rate apartments.
Great. Thanks, Joey. Any questions for Joey? Okay, thanks. All right, so this is a public hearing, and so I'll open it up, and when you come up, if you'd state your name, address, and what it is that you're wanting to discuss regarding this matter. So I'll go ahead and open that up.
Good evening. John Schumacher, 457 Chinook Court. We're right above this property. My only real concern is the turning lanes, which are hard to see and stuff on there, and if it's going to affect any other properties besides their own.
Okay, very good. Thank you, John. Anybody else this evening that wants to speak regarding this? Okay, very good. I will close the public hearing. Joey, did you want to comment at all regarding the turn lane? Specifically, I'm sorry, Joey. Joey? All right, we'll assume no. Let's go to our staff report.
Okay, thank you. Sheena Moon, Associate Planner. Let me just,
It's coming up.
yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that. I was just confirming exactly where he lived. If you want to bring up that
Sure.
picture again.
Let me get back there.
So the turn lane that's on the west side of the property there, the only thing that it would affect is the 2 driveways to the north side of it. There's a partial reconstruction of each of those driveways, and that's the only.
Is that the sign shop?
Yep, that would be Dubuque sign, and then a veterinary clinic as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Can I have a seat? Yep. Sheena, will you be doing the staff report?
I will, thank you. Yep, Sheena Moon, Associate Planner. I'm gonna pull up my PowerPoint here, perhaps. Okay, hi, thank you. So as the applicant stated, the request this evening is to rezone this property from C3 General Commercial to a planned unit development with the PR Planned Residential designation. And so the property, as we've already identified, is located on Cedar Cross Road, on this sloped kind of portion coming southbound on Cedar Cross Road. A large, about approximately 11-acre undeveloped property in that area. And as you can see, it has a little tail, if you will, here extending down towards the east as well. So this is our notification map for the property. This identifies who's been notified as far as property owners and adjacent. So a couple things about the property. Pre-1975, this property was in the county. It was zoned agricultural for a large chunk of its history, 75 to 2012. In 2013, it was rezoned to C3 General Commercial. And so that is the designation that it currently has. The project site, as I mentioned, is approximately 11 acres. It does just have that frontage along Cedar Cross Road, and it does slope again from Cedar Cross Road toward Catfish Creek to the east. There's approximately a 12% slope change from the picture you're seeing here, kind of straight across the vacant lot there. Adjacent land uses include commercial and industrial to the north. To the east, we have residential and open space. To the south, also residential, which you see up the hill here. And then the west across Cedar Cross Road is commercial uses as well. And so, as I mentioned with the previous projects, every planned unit development request that we have does require a conceptual plan. And so this is the conceptual plan that's been provided by the applicant. This has been vetted through our development review team. So they did look at this. We look at all different aspects of projects at this phase. We take a look at access, we take a look at traffic, we take a look at fire access, density, zoning regulations, the full kind of gamut of the development review team at this high level to make sure that anything we're bringing to the commission is, within the means and the larger picture of what's required per city codes and requirements. And so as you can see to the left-hand side of the picture here, this project did go through a traffic study. The city's engineering department did evaluate that traffic study. They specifically looked at the access. They also looked at making sure that there was adequate visibility for safe entry and exit from the property and adequate vehicle stacking, especially obviously on Cedar Cross Road. That's a very busy road, as I'm sure many of you are aware. Approximately 9,800 vehicles, average annual daily traffic on that roadway, according to 2021 IDOT counts. So very busy road. As part of this project, there is a widening, and as you can see where my arrow is here, so there would be a left-hand turn lane for that southbound traffic into the development. And then again, there'd be some reconfiguration of Cedar Cross Road to accommodate that widening of that roadway. And then also coming out of the development, there would be a right-hand turn and a left-hand turn option to ensure there's not an abundant amount of queuing back into the development and to give people adequate turning options onto Cedar Cross Road. So as I mentioned, the engineering department has reviewed this. This is a document, or this is a plan that they are in agreement with the applicant. There's still additional detail that we need to review with respect to the actual engineering side of it. So making sure that it's fully engineered, the curbs, cuts, things of that nature, the widening of the street. Those are all pieces that come to the development review team through what we call a site plan review. And so as the applicant, if the zoning is approved and they can move forward with the development, as they go through the project and actually develop the project, they would submit to our development review team for that more in-depth review. So taking a step back, just looking at the project, so there is a total of 6 three-story buildings. It would be 180 total multifamily residential units, a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. Additionally, there would be approximately 86 parking stalls that would be provided both via 84 garage stalls, which would be on that lower level of the existing building. So those would be covered stalls, and then the surface spaces that you're seeing in the conceptual plan here. Additionally, so that does meet the city's Unified Development Code requirement for 1.5 stalls per residential unit, and actually it exceeds it by a few. The code would require 270 stalls, so they are providing about 16 additional parking spaces. Additionally, they are proposing some amenities on this property. So as you can see in the right-hand corner here, a clubhouse in this area, a dog run, and some pickleball courts for resident use. The other thing that I'd like to note here, as you can see, there's a large detention basin being proposed. That's to manage stormwater on the property. The applicant has indicated to the city that they would be looking to develop this project in phases. And so phase 1 would consist of 2 buildings, the detention pond, kind of this L-shaped, if you can see the line here, large kind of awkward shaped development for phase 1. Phase 2 would include 2 additional residential buildings, and then phase 3 would be the last 2 buildings as well as the amenities for the property. Right. Let's see here. So let's take a look. So as far as utilities to the project, the area is served by both water and sanitary sewer, sanitary sewer in the area. So there's a water main on Cedar Cross Road and a sanitary sewer located in Catfish Creek to the east of the project. So there are utilities available in the area. The public services are adequate to serve the project. Again, the property is unimproved. There are, as you saw, not much for trees or shrubs in the property. As part of any development for the property, they would be required to meet the city's site development standards for providing landscaping, and so that would be provided and reviewed through that development review team process. And then, as we already spoke about traffic, so I won't reiterate that, other than to say that, again, city engineering has looked at that and is in support of the plan. And then I'll just note the comprehensive plan recommendations that this project would support. So integrating future neighborhoods in the Dubuque via access to trails, open space, and other recreational and educational amenities. Encouraging a mix of housing affordable for all segments of population, and as well as encouraging a new multifamily residential development in proximity to jobs. Those are all specific goals of our city's comprehensive plan. All right, and as so the staff has received some phone calls regarding the project. Nothing that has resulted in a formal letter either for or against the project, just general inquiries asking about, what the project consists of. And I do think we had an inquiry about whether or not a fence would be provided, which is not proposed in the plan currently. With that, I have no further comments, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheena. Any questions for staff?
In one of the previous applications, you presented a lot of information related to the planned unit development specifics, like the frontage and those kinds of things. Is there anything like that, required or typical for a plan like this? I mean, you think about 3-story buildings, but they're sitting quite a bit lower than those neighboring houses, so.
Great question. So, Commissioner Lorman, the conceptual plan is the large, so that previous project was a unique situation in which we were going back in to subdivide a conceptual plan that did not have, specific setbacks and regulations established for it. In this instance, the conceptual plan would really be the applicant would need to adhere substantially to this plan. We did discuss specifically, there are requirements with respect to building code, so fire setbacks from especially the proposed property lines that they're including in here. But at this point in time, a specific bulk regulation chart is not proposed for this development.
Any follow-up?
No, I think it seems like a nice location.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Travis just noted to me that we do have the height restriction called out separately. So actually, let me go to the ordinance. I'll pull that up so we can take a look at that, just to provide you with some context of kind of where we're placing this information. So this is the ordinance itself here. So again, in these ordinances, when we draft them, we identify uses and use regulations. So here we would call out that its principally permitted uses would be the 6 buildings. And then we're also articulating the clubhouse specifically here as part of that. And then the bulk regulations in this instance, so the building setback shall be in substantial conformance with the approved conceptual plan. So we're referencing that conceptual plan to serve as a guide as to where those buildings should be located. Additionally, we are limiting the height of the structures to 50 feet maximum. And then again, we have this reference to, if we have not otherwise identified that, we would refer to our city's R4 multifamily residential zoning district as a fallback to anything that may not have been addressed in the ordinance here. And I don't know if you had something else to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheena.
Yeah, thank you.
What were you saying?
I don't have any further questions. I was just making a comment, knowing the area. It seems like it's adding diversity and potentially nice even for the neighbors to change from commercial to another residential. So it also seems to sit quite a bit lower than those neighboring houses. So it doesn't seem obstructive. That's all.
Yeah, I like it as well. I think it's a great project, great spot.
I think it's a good spot for multifamily as well.
Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing additional, I'll entertain a motion for approval as submitted or amended to your heart's desire.
I'll second.
Well, somebody will need to make a motion.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to rezone property from C3 general commercial to planned unit development with PR planned residential designation.
Sorry, Troy.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve as submitted.
As submitted. Froistad?
Aye.
Zaccaro?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
Lorman?
Aye.
And Mulligan.
Aye. Okay, great. That motion passes. It'll go before City Council on February 17th. Joey, thank you. All right. That's it on our agenda. Any items from the public this evening? Great. Seeing none? Seeing none? Any from the commission? Nope. Staff?
Yeah, so I just like to just keep everyone updated with the Unified Development Code. So obviously that's the governing document that dictates everything you see here before I write zonings, plats and everything associated with it. So we just completed our first public engagement, which was the survey and a lot of stakeholder interviews. Just recently, last week, the consultant met with engineers, architects, and surveyors to be able to receive their input. Now, the next step in the process for the Unified Development Code is the consultant taking all that information in with what they've observed through the existing code, all that stakeholder feedback, all the survey information, which I'll provide you a copy of the survey information at our next Zoning Advisory Commission meeting, just to keep you updated with that, and prepare what they call a technical report. So it's just kind of their analysis and what they heard from everyone that's involved with it, to start that high level of those conversations of where we're going to take this Unified Development Code and what does the community want and how we can move forward in making some of those changes. So just want to kind of keep you guys an update. And as we move forward, there will be opportunities for additional public engagement. We do have a website at cityofdubuque.org/UDC update, which we provide information on there regularly, and people can leave comments if they want to anytime, and that directly comes to me and that goes directly to the consultant. So all that information is out there and there's opportunity, and we're pretty excited to move forward and look at some opportunities to have flexibility in our code and move forward. So.
Is there a link to that specific website page, like from the city planning department page?
Yeah, so we do. We have it on the city planning department page under Unified Development Code, and we have the direct link to the site. If you just want to pull it up, you're going to go to the website. Okay.
Hey, guys, we're trying to wrap up. Joey?
We need a gavel.
Gentlemen?
No. Hey. Guys, we're trying to wrap up. Give us 5, okay?
Or maybe go out to the lobby to talk.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paulie.
Thanks.
So on our planning and zoning website, if you go to Unified Development Code, there's the update, and then all this is, so as you scroll through here, you look at the website, we talk about what the Unified Development Code is. There's still opportunities to take the survey. There's community survey, technical survey. We talk about the project phases, the opportunities for public input. We're in that process of getting towards the end of the phase 1, which is that technical review report. Phase 2, we'll get involved as we move forward that. And then as you move forward, we talk about the timelines, opportunity for people to comment anytime during the process. And then as we move forward, we'll provide updates. We'll upload that technical report. We'll update the survey information once that's finalized. And just to keep the public available and on top of everything. So we had great turnout with the survey. We had over about 300 responses, all various different backgrounds and groups with that. And what I really appreciate about the survey is the free response questions. So those are where we ask individuals like, what do you value about Dubuque? What can Dubuque do better in addition to some basic zoning questions? But those free response questions are really great information because it allows us to hear specifically from an individual what they appreciate and what they think that we could be doing better with the zoning code. We also have one great question that was brought up by one of our staff members that the consultant was very impressed with, to be honest with you. And that question was, has there been a situation where zoning has prevented you from doing what you wanted to do? So that gives people an opportunity if they were denied in a zoning request for rezoning or going to the zoning board of adjustment for a variance or setback, they can explain to that situation and say, hey, is there ability for us to look at adjusting the code, or was there a reason why that was denied? So it's a great opportunity. And we do have some people that have responded with that, and that's something we can bring forward to the community and the council and have conversations about that. So
there was a really detailed article in the TH a couple days ago. Did anybody come out and say, I want to learn more about what you're doing? Or
I don't know how many people have come out with regards to that. We did receive some input from the link on there. We really appreciated that. There was some information provided in the document. It was a very long article. There's great some information in there. There's obviously some questions with regards to, there's one statement in there that I had a question about. It's like, there are decisions where we're very flexible with the code, and that power resides in the Unified Development Code for flexibility for adjustment of setbacks and certain things that are associated with that. That gives the power to our office, myself, and any of the staff members in order to waive certain requirements. I just want to make that clear. I think sometimes it might sound like I could just approve everything. I don't. I have the process to be able to go through and follow the code. And that code was designed to be flexible because we have what I refer to as really 3 communities in our city. We have the historic downtown riverfront, which is the older portion of the city. We have to have rules and regulations and setbacks and bulk regs, kind of different from the transitional zone, which is on top of the bluff, all the way to our west end suburban development. So our code has to be extremely flexible, and that's where we're hoping as we move through this process to make it more flexible. And the other thing is to make it more clear for the public to understand. So.
I didn't make that comment, did I?
No.
Hopefully it was anonymous.
Right. All right. Motion for adjournment? So moved.
Motion.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thanks all.